You ever get sick of having to defend yourself, your life's work, cardano, to the people who ride the hype train and have no idea about anything? Well, that's a less evolved Charles Hoskinson would agree to that type of thing. At the end of the day, every criticism has buried within it a kernel of truth. If it didn't, it's not a criticism, it's fantasy. Like if somebody comes up to me and says, "You are the worst wizard in Tolkien's stories." What the fuck does that mean? It's like, I'm not a wizard. I'm not in Tolkien's stories. I have nothing to do with that universe. So it has no emotional reaction. When somebody comes up to you and says you've lied about this, or you are incompetent, or you're incapable, they have a personal criticism about an event that you are connected to, then it makes you enter into a cycle of self-doubt and reflection if you're sane. And you basically go through these emotions of anger and doubt and rage and justification and so forth. And if you're not careful, the entire game becomes proving this person is wrong who levied the criticism. What you need to do is steelman it and say, well, what if, let's play the what if game. They're right. What if what they've said is entirely true? And we look at the criticism of Cardano, to steelman the criticism, there's a lot there that's valid. The choice of Haskell, the choice of peer review, the launch of Cardano, the fact that no VCs were involved and it was done in a very democratic way, making a high priority out of decentralization, less accessible developer experience. These are all fair criticisms, and they have to be, because you take a risk doing it on the other side. And if it turns out it's right, in hindsight, it seems obvious, but at the time, it's a risk. Remember, Microsoft was one of hundreds of software companies that were founded in the 1970s. The vast majority of the ones founded at the time Microsoft was founded are now out of business. They were out of business in the mid-'80s. So all of them, some were larger. Lotus was larger, are not here anymore. They're gone because they chose poorly. But at the time, it seemed like they chose wisely, and Microsoft was the one choosing poorly. Just to give you a sense of this, when IBM came to Microsoft and said, hey guys, we want you to write an operating system, they passed on the deal. They said, no, we don't do that, but we know these guys over here, they're going to do a great job for you. They went over there, and those guys, they didn't want to sign the NDA. And they come back to Microsoft angry and say, those guys you referred us to was a waste of time. Bill's, I'll do it for you. He went over to Paul. He's like, we write programming languages. How the fuck do we write an operating system? And Paul Allen's like, don't worry, I know a guy. We could buy it from him. You see, they had no fantasy of Windows back then. And now it's like obvious in the history of Microsoft in that respect. So we made a lot of risky choices as a community. And I did my best to kind of balance all of the different needs and trade-offs and so forth. And right now, real time, we're living the criticism and we're living the fruits of our labors. We know we've made a difference and we know changed things and so forth. Personal criticism of me, very valuable. Haven't always been the nicest person, the most mature person, haven't always been the best person in life. And the difference between you and me is that my grievances, the issues with me, are aired more publicly. But they exist on both sides. All I have agency over is to ask what wisdom can be gained from the criticism and have enough self-awareness to say, tomorrow, be a little better, be a little bit more patient, be a little smarter, be a little bit more capable, have a little bit more love in one's heart. Because at the end of the day, that's all I have agency over. That's all I have control over and so forth. And be willing to admit that maybe your ideas are wrong. And be willing to admit that maybe some of the approaches and processes that you followed are wrong. Some of your conceptions about how the world works are wrong. The brightest people, the wisest people, the most capable people are the people who have capacity for radical change quickly when the time demands it. And those often are the most effective people in any organization. The people who are static and dogged and very fundamentalist in the way that they approach things. they seldom get anything done. Because at the end of the day, they've dug their heels in, and that's that. There's no room for debate. It's why I hate Bitcoin maximalism so much. They said the world ended January 3rd, 2009. There is no room for anything else other than the doctrine we have given, which we shall occasionally, through a papal bull or conclave, update a little bit. We'll change a word here and there. But for the most part, it's perfect. How boring is that? How sad is it that all progress ends on a day and we no longer have the right to evolve? It's almost like Dr. Ford's speech in Westworld to Bernard, when he said all of human evolution was constructed through a mistake. And if we stop making them, then we're as good as it gets. That's the sadness of it. So it's a mixed bag. If you pay too much attention to it, you become neurotic and broken and mired in self-doubt. If you ignore it, you have no ability to improve yourself. So you have to find the right balance between the two.